Everybody, to the latest live session from TradePending. We are live right now, and we're going to be talking about a new approach to sourcing from service. We have some esteemed speakers with us today. Let's get going. So you got me, Matthew, Chief Marketing Officer here at TradePending. Alex, CEO of FRIKINtech. Hello.
Hello.
And Bill, General Sales Manager from Reymore Chevrolet. Bill, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's keep rolling with this intro stuff. As we always do, we will record this. We will share it out afterwards. These are also meant to be interactive if you want them to be. So throw your questions in that Q&A in the chat. We will answer them as they come. I'll be the moderator here for this, guys. If we don't get to it afterwards, you've got our email addresses in this thing, and we'll reach out to you. If you haven't seen it yet, we've been posting a lot of actually really entertaining and sometimes informative and helpful content. I say we call it TradePending TV. It's on social media. We're on TikTok. Follow us there. It's a lot of really great content. We also do some giveaways. We got a big one coming up in the fall, the 5 days of fall. Last week we gave away a chainsaw and a guitar and amplifier and a golf club, and surprise, it was all orange. So there you go. So with that being said, I'm going to stop the share here. We're going to kick it off here. And Bill, we're going to kick it off to you first. Just give us a quick overview of yourself, how the heck you ended up in automotive, how you ended up here today.
Well, I guess I've been doing automotive for, going on 25 years now. Got here after college, got out of college, and just didn't like the landscape was, got in the car business, and just as one of those things that just gets under your fingers. And, I spent time as a salesperson, commercial salesperson, finance manager, sales manager, and general sales manager. So I've enjoyed it an awful lot, and continue to enjoy it. It's one of those industries that is ever changing, and how it started out and how it is today are completely different. And I've got to meet a lot of really cool people and be part of some really awesome teams of people. And I'm looking forward to the future very much.
Great summary, Alex. So over to you, same questions, and then talk to us like how you guys know each other.
So I got my start in 5th grade. I scratched my name in a desk.
Recording in progress.
That was me. Sorry about that. Continue along.
So 5th grade started by scratching my name in a desk, and had to pay for that $93 desk off. So my grandfather, who owned a dealership, would pick me up every Saturday, and I'd have to go wash cars until it was paid off, and realized I liked making money and stuck with it and just went from there. Rolled through the dealer group and went up to work for dealer.com, and later and later and later. And here we are at FRIKINtech and having all sorts of fun along the way. And Bill and I met during the dealer.com years. Yep. We have a mutual friend named Joe Costell. And Bill, Joe, and their wives came to Vermont, and we all hung out and probably imbibed too much alcohol together and got to be friends.
That's great. And this is a little bit different from what we normally do, but I think it's really worthwhile. We're like bringing on one of our favorite partners in the industry, FRIKINtech, because he came to us with some great stats. And we're going to get into all of that, but I think it's just a great opportunity to kind of acknowledge that, like, hey, we're all kind of in this together, like trying to help out the automotive industry as a whole and people like Bill. So, Bill, first question over for you. So we're talking about inventory sourcing. And so just tell us about the evolution from your perspective, what you're working on right now in terms of how you're sourcing inventory through the service drive. Where did it start for you guys? Where is it today? Where's it going?
Well, I'll back up just a tips before that. When we always looked at 10 years ago when you needed vehicles, you said, well, we need to take in trades, and, not everything you took in you could retail. So you went to a thing like an auction online or a physical sale, and you bought excess inventory, and that's where you came by your inventory. And now you fast forward a little bit to 2020, COVID hits, and all of a sudden new car sales kind of drop off substantially. There aren't as many people coming, and you got to figure out how to get some inventory. And the vehicles that were there at the auction aren't there. And what is there is the stuff that most people don't want because it's less desirable. And you have to start looking inward. You know, we always knew that the best place to find customers was in your service lane. They're already doing business with your store. You're familiar with them. You have some familiarity with what they have as far as a vehicle or inventory, you know, potentially. And you know, we said, you know what, we've got to do a better job as a company. We've got to do a better job of recognizing that opportunity down in our service department and actively go after and source vehicles from them. And like, well, how do you get that? How do you get to a customer to say, from, hey, I'm coming in from an oil change, and say, hey, we want to buy your vehicle? And you know, in the old days when I started out, we used to have to go down, and a salesperson would get up early and would come in like 7 o'clock in the morning and help and work the service drive. And your goal was to basically get to be a free porter for the store to move cars. But the idea as a sales consultant was to you know, maintain a relationship and get, you know, create an opportunity. Question is when you can't find people to do that, how do you do this? How do you create the opportunities? How do you narrow that down? And how do you do it so it's happening 100% of the time? And, you know, we played around with it. We played around with having people in service. We played around with calling people, leaving flyers on your card, say, would you like a free no commitment appraisal of your vehicle, an equities check, blah, blah, blah. And I think everybody's tried these, and they all are better than nothing. They all will yield you some results. Alex from his company came out with a product and said, hey, you know, we'll go through this and we'll reach out to people that you want, and that the vehicles are, you know, in your age and your mileage constraints, and we'll send them a text. And I'm like, you know what, I'm intrigued, and we're doing this, and it's working pretty well, working very well.
That's great. So we'll probably explore that a little bit more, but that's a great segue over to Alex. Kind of just give us the quick nickel tour of FRIKIntech, just how and why you got started, and then how that's playing into what Bill's talking about right now.
So FRIKIntech is a whole bunch of people that I've met along the years, whether it was from my checkered flag days. One of the co-founders, he was our CRM installer, met him there when he was installing iMagic Lab, if anyone remembers that one. And we became great friends and realized that we needed to work together one day because we both like talking about process in the dealership. Kind of weird like that. But then met some people at dealer.com, some great technologists. And after the Cox acquisition, you know, we sort of lost our mastering of our own destiny. And we wanted to take control of our world again. So we said, let's do something. Let's see what we can do. And we had all built a CRM at dealer.com or came from another place where running a CRM, so forth and so on. And we were going to build a CRM. And
watch out.
Yeah, that was the goal. And we knew, as I think everyone knows listening in, especially if you worked in a dealership, that a CRM doesn't work unless you have a pencil tool. You know, sales managers don't play unless you have a pencil tool. So we built one. And along the way, we were bootstrapping this thing. We were paying with our own dollars, and we started to run out of money. It was like, okay, what do we got?
Been there. Yeah.
And so we took the pencil that we had and we took it to the internet managers in the dealership and said, hey, look, we've got a way where you can quote your own payments directly out of your CRM, your current CRM, didn't matter which one it was, and be able to deliver a quote without having to go to the desk and fly. This huge efficiency. And that was what we came to market with. And then COVID happened, and went through all the shutdown mess with that, and how do we help dealers there, and so on and so on. And then it turned into, we need cars. Dealers needed to pick up more used cars. So we saw that we could deliver a transparent experience to the consumer over email, and we'd been doing it through the CRM. We said, okay, well, what if we did this through text? And then what if we also included a DMS feed? So get the repair orders out of the DMS and automate the whole thing. So let the consumer go in, choose their own destiny, play with their own payments, see their equity, all that kind of stuff. And then once they're engaged and interested, Then we get the dealer involved and they can make the phone call. So it's not a cold call. It's not having to go out like Bill was talking about and greet the service drive and entice them with something that they're really not interested in. Now we have a truly interested person and the dealership can work.
Wonderful. And so then, Bill, talk a little bit more in detail about, we're talking about this new approach. Like you mentioned some of the more traditional approaches that will get you some results. Just talk us through the details. Like, yeah, here's how we're using this. And then I'll have you both just kind of chime in with like, what are you seeing? What are the results? So Bill, over to you.
Well, there's two, I guess there's two ways we can look at this. And the one, I mean, the direct one is in a perfect world, a customer comes into service, gets their oil change done. Next day or 2 days later, gets a text from set up from FRIKIntech and asks if they like a quote on their vehicle's value, and they click yes. They go online. They run some numbers. They reach out to us and say, hey, yeah, call me. This is awesome, and we get some of that. We also see a bit of people that seem to be a little, I guess, higher funnel. People, I think it kind of gets the plants the seed, gets the ball kind of rolling for them to go that, you know what, maybe this is a good time. People are creatures of habit. And, we have a pretty solid process of a couple of people in my BDC, and that's exactly what they do. They follow these people up religiously. I say that, I don't want to make it sound like we hound them, because we do not do that. I think that's counterproductive. And if you are doing that, you probably should stop. But it gets opportunities. And from there, depending on how engaged the customer is, we'll go from there. We have people that we never get a hold of, but when I look at the numbers at the end of the month, we see it. They've been on the site. They've looked at LumaQuote. They have played with the pencil tools so many times you can't count. And it's about trust. It's about engagement. If it's productive to be on the website, if it's productive for them to get the information when they go on there, they have what they wanted. They come back, and when they come back, the more they come back, the more likely we are to see them in person. And if we see them in person, then I think we do a pretty good job of converting them into sales.
Yeah, Bill,
You're being honest there, Bill. 25% closing rate on these leads, so
it's not bad.
Yeah.
And what do you attribute that success to? Is that having dedicated people on it? Is it a process, or all the above? What's leading to that great number?
You said exactly that. It's having a good process and the right people. And I think if you want to go down this road, you want to be able to acquire cars, like that from your service drive, or venture down fit for sale by owners. You have to have people who are dedicated to doing nothing but that. And I say that because not to bash salespeople, because I spent the majority of my career being one. Salespeople are very good at reacting. Someone comes in the store and needs help, they're here. But are they good at handling a customer who maybe is 60 days out, 75 days out, just found out in the last 10 minutes that, hey, I might want to buy a car? They're not as good at that. I think you have to have people who are trained to handle customers that way, knowledgeable, and have processes in place. Because if you don't, you don't have the same results.
Right. It's just going to fall apart there. So, Alex, over to you. This entire conversation began 6 weeks ago when you said, hey, you shared this with us because we're partners, like we share data. And you said, I'm seeing some amazing results from this. Talk us through what you were seeing.
Well, first off, we should probably point out that the whole process starts with TradePending. So shout out to those guys. So yeah, all the valuation points are started with a call to TradePending. So we see a repair order come in, we take the VIN, we take the mileage, and we break that down and we send it over as TradePending wants to consume it. And then TradePending sends back the values, and then based off of what the dealer says is within their range of the kind of equity offer they want to do, if this is as Bill was mentioning earlier, if the mileage is right, if the age of the vehicle is right, the customer qualifies for an offer and it goes. And so in Bill's case, he is only using texting. And so There are other channels that we do. We do email. We also now have mail as well. And when you light it all up, it's got some other pretty amazing results. But the texting alone is pretty interesting. So what you find is anywhere, depending on the restraints the dealer wants, it's anywhere from 15% to 60% of all ROs are qualifying for an offer.
Okay.
So somewhere in there, and it depends on, you've got so much configuration, that's why the range is so high. But from there, we see a very consistent opt-in rate on the text. So with texting, you have to be very strict and measured in what you say and how it's presented and how you allow people to opt in or opt out. And so that way you can stay compliant with all the carriers. And so what we find is all the people who do have a cell phone number that we text and offer, say, hey, would you like to see this? Text yes to opt in. The ones who opt in is right around 13%. At Bill Store, it's 15%. And it's of all their qualified ROs. And then from there, they come in and they can click the offer. They go in, what they see immediately is their car. Right? It is a stock image of their car, but it's their car, and then it shows them their equity, big print, right? And it's a website. So that's a key differentiator here. A lot of the time when you're dealing with an equity mining solution or some sort of offer, a lot of the time it's paper or it's static. So what I mean by static is it's in an email. So nobody can play with it. Right? This is a landing page experience. It's a website. So it's a live experience the customer can tune.
Yeah, you can tweak the knobs and turn the dials and
drive.
So we don't have to be 100% accurate with what their equity actually is. We can make guesses. And that's a key thing when you're going after service, because over 60% of the people using dealership service drives didn't buy that car from the dealership. So you have no sold history. You don't know. So we take a guess, and then the customer can go in and say, oh, you know what? That's not my payoff. This is my payoff. And it immediately calculates their equity. And it also immediately calls TradePending back if they have any changes to their trade. Like maybe they want to say, okay, the mileage is a little off, or you know what? I want to see something else. They can go in and see the whole TradePending report with the ranges and how their car sits in the market. And everything like that is all right there as soon as they open it up. You can't get that in the mail. It's just impossible. And then from there, okay, see how your equity it applies to every single car in Bill's inventory. All of them. It's not just that Chevy Silverado they just had service, and then here's all the Silverados that you could buy, or this one brand new Silverado. No, it's everything. And customers are moving away from the car that they are currently owning. In fact, it's 83%.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so 83% of people are not going after the same car that they are driving now. So being able to show them your entire inventory is huge.
So Bill, what does a good month look like for you and your team when it comes to sourcing from the service drive? Like, what are you measuring, and what does success look like?
I guess at the end of the day, I mean, we want to get every car we possibly can. From a number standpoint, we want to see at least 10.
Okay.
That's to us, it just makes the numbers work. More in the last couple of months, we've been stronger than that. I think we've had just cars we just purchased out. I think is the last couple of months is 18. We've had 27 deals that are from people that originated at some point from Service IQ and through IllumaQuote. So, to me that's pretty successful. What I'd like it to be more, and it's funny as we're sitting here talking about this, I'm scratching down notes like, boy, we got to look at the parameters here. Maybe we can open this up a little bit. But that to us is a good number. And obviously, like the closing ratio. I mean, I'd love to tell you that every month we close at that. I don't think so, but that's just a testament. I mean, that's more than double what we close our internet leads at, and I think that number is pretty strong too.
Right,
so we close between 11 and 12%. So,
yeah, both really, really strong. All right, so I'm going to ask you guys to take out your crystal ball here. This is always fun. It's an easy question to ask, really difficult one to answer here. So what the heck is the new and used inventory supply levels and pricing going to look like at the end of this year?
Ooh.
And I guess we'll just keep that, Bill, Chevrolet. So talk to us about Chevrolet there. And then Alex, I want to hear your opinion as well too.
Well, as far as new goes, we have a large problem with, as an industry and specifically Chevrolet, getting vehicles that are built to us dealers. And it's no secret. They talk about it quite a bit, and it's making things rather challenging. They built more cars than they built last year, but that's still significantly down from the previous years. And they're going to increase production, but we have some serious difficulties getting cars to us. So if we sell less new, I've got to fill that gap somewhere. And people still drive to work. People still need transportation. Cars still break. Cars still get totaled. People just want to replace cars because they're creatures of habit, and we need something to put out there. I think the used car market's you're seeing some different headwinds. You're seeing where you're getting a little bit of pullback as you're starting to see some manufacturers having better success at getting cars to their showrooms than others. And you're seeing those values start to drop a little bit. You're seeing a little more availability on the used side. But then you've got vehicles that you just can't get. Like I have, and I'm not alone. I mean, most GM dealers right now have majority of what's on the ground are half-ton pickup trucks. Very little SUVs. Our car line is virtually non-existent. So you've got people switching, and there's an affordability factor that went into all this. That rates have increased, leasing isn't as attractive as it was a few years ago, and you're seeing people, as Alex said, people are not buying the same vehicle or the type of vehicle they bought their previous trade cycle. They might have been a Silverado, but they can't afford a new Silverado. They don't want to afford a new Silverado, and they're looking at an Equinox. So we're seeing some shifts. I still think there's more demand than there is pre-owned cars out there from our year 2, 3, 4-year-old vehicles.
Right, a ton of pent-up demand. Yeah.
Yeah. I still think there's demand out there that's going to exceed what there is. I mean, we didn't build. Look at them. There are millions of cars they didn't build over the last 2.5 years, and I think it's going to take a long time or some large supply disruption to change that.
Alex, what's your perspective? Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Sorry. I just think we're going to be, this is what it's going to be for quite some time. And I think that we have to just, if you want to increase your volume in selling vehicles, you've got to look at every source you can to acquire inventory, because you're not just going to get it the old fashioned way.
Yeah. Alex, let's get your perspective on that. We got a couple questions that we'll go to after that.
Yeah. So this is completely my gut. Not basing this on a lot of data here, but so this is Alex's only crystal ball. But I think we're looking at some islands, and every manufacturer for the first time in history of probably anyone listening to this in the car business, this is the first time we don't have an entire industry that's kind of marching together in the same direction. Ford's experiencing one thing, Chevy's experiencing another thing, Mercedes is off in its own world. And, you could even make an argument that it might even be down to the models, that each model is its own island and as new car inventory comes back, it's having an effect in the used car market as well. And like the Lincoln Aviator, for example, there's some of those starting to come around. So you're watching the used car inventory start to devalue on that vehicle a little bit. Whereas, Cadillac, the Escalade, there's still crazy money as a used vehicle, but you can't get them new. So that's just going to be the case as things go on. So if the manufacturer can pump a bunch out real fast, you'll watch the dip in the used car market, and so on and so on. And like Bill said, we could be here for a little while.
Thank you for that. All right, let's jump into some questions here. The first one coming in is, Bill, how many leads are you getting per month? And you can share that as broad as you want across everything, maybe narrow it down to just, from the FRIKINtech side, and compare that to how many service ROs per month.
I don't want to get super detailed on that, but we're getting several a day.
Okay.
We see several leads a day from Service IQ.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Next question. Where are the texts coming from? Like what tool? Alex, I think this one's for you.
So we fire them off on behalf of the dealership. We're completely working with the carriers and making sure that those texts are getting delivered.
And then how are you doing any type of communication back with the dealer? Like, hey, this person's opted in, they've opted out. How do you think about that?
So we do whatever the customer does within our side, we report that back to the dealer based on how much of that data the dealer wants. So we're highly customizable. So if the dealer is like, man, like I've got 2,000 ROs a month and there's 1,000 things, 1,000 customers touching FRIKIntech this month. And are we going to send back 1,000 things? That might be a little too much for the dealer to handle. So you can tune how much of this you wish to receive. We can send it in your inbox, and we obviously send it to the CRM, especially when it's a fully engaged customer.
Got it. Next question. For Bill, talk us through, do you have dedicated individuals, teams that are focused solely on sourcing from the service drive?
Yes, we absolutely do. I have two people who handle nothing but that, and they don't hand them over until a customer walks in through the doors of the showroom. Again, I think the people who do that, you need to have their own separate process in place, and they need to not be distracted by other things that are going on. And I think some places we've tried this, we tried lumping this into, well, here's a couple of my sales consultants, let's just have them handle some of these leads and work them. It just doesn't work the same way. It's dedicated people and a good process.
$1 million question, or at least $100,000 question, follow up from me. How do you ensure that handoff is smooth from that dedicated person in the sourcing from service drive to that salesperson, so that the person walking through the door isn't greeted with like, I have no idea what you're talking about?
That's a challenge. It's always a challenge, and we don't run with as many salespeople as we used to. And I think most stores, that's all true. 10, 12 years ago, we used to figure, you want to sell 200 cars, you better have 15 to 20 salespeople. Well, I think now you got to look at is people are more expensive. We have to find a way to, and if you can find the people, I think you have to find a way to get more with less, but not sacrifice the customer experience while you're doing it. So, it's just setting expectations. My sales consultants know when someone comes in and they ask for, the name of one of the two of the people from my BDC who are handling that, they know to go get that person, if at all humanly possible. They know that they figured out that if you listen and you hand them off and they do an actual a true turnover, they'll tell them everything they need to know, and it makes things so much easier. And even the salespeople that you would think would be the hardest to get that point across and how important it is, the first time that the light comes on when they realize that all I have to do is listen, and this person makes my life this much easier, they're bought in from there. But it's just setting expectations and managing people. And
wonderful. Thank you for that. We got a couple more coming in here. One of them is actually some really great feedback from Don, and I'm just going to kind of do my best to summarize this and read it here, and we'll see what there is to comment on here. So he's saying they've been using urban science to learn more about lost sales in the last 90 days. The biggest lump of their customers who buy from another dealership outside of their group is OnStar service alerts and service drive physical customers. Saying, thinks we've all lost perspective on customers we have and opportunities who are actual buyers. There's a massive benefit to assigning a super trained professional who can hone in on the service drives. I think he's really just agreeing with what you're saying, Bill.
That's awesome. You know what? At the end of the day, I mean, I worked for a number of years. When I met Alex, we were talking about the days. I worked for Sun Chevrolet and was Todd Caputo, and five guys know him as used car king.
Yeah.
We did an incredible amount of stuff with 3 locations, but we had great people and we had great processes, and we stuck to them. And if something didn't work, we changed it. But at the end of the day, it all starts with people. If you don't have the right people, then the rest, you only can do so much.
Yep. All right, Alex, question for you. So, do you have a dashboard with analytics? Can you customize like what's important to us?
So before I answer that, I do want to touch on the last comment and throw out there, when it comes to somebody who's actually handling the service leads or the service drive, there's two key phrases or statements, or just want to make sure you hit on it. The first one is thank you. This customer just gave you money. They just did service with you, and you thank them for doing that. Then they let their guard down very quickly. So they recognize that you're recognizing them, and they appreciate it. The second part is VIP appointment. So when you tell somebody you can get a VIP appointment to have your vehicle appraised, now because they're a VIP customer of the dealership, they're more apt to set an appointment with you if you're talking to them over the phone. So if you need anything from today's webinar that you can immediately go back with, there you go. But so to answer Monique's question here, do we have a dashboard with the analytics in it? And the answer is we prefer you don't log in. You can have a login to our tool, but we try to get everything to you because we're former car dealers and we hated having extra logins ourselves. Yeah. So it comes in your email.
Thank you for that. All right, next question. So if a customer wants evaluation, are you just using the online tool? Or are you not giving a physical appraisal? I'm guessing this depends where people are in the funnel too, just where they are in their buying journey. But Bill, let's start with you, and then Alex, add in where you see fit, because I know there's some nuances here.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, Matt. It depends on where they are in the process. But if a customer comes in and wants to know what their vehicle's worth, whether they walk to the front door or whether they walk through service, and if someone wants to take the time to come upstairs and ask us, then we'll appraise their vehicle. This isn't 1995. We kind of, for the last 2.5 years, we got all this control back because there weren't any cars out there, and it was like 1995 again. And we felt like we had control of the sales process. But it's all kind of starting to go the other way again, and it's always going to, and it's going back there. And, whether we want to admit it or not, it's a customer-driven sales process. So, there's all this information out there. I don't have a problem putting a value on my website. I mean, TradePending's bar is right there, on the bottom of my webpage, value your trade. People can type in KBB or NADA or any of these other names and find out in 3 seconds what somebody else says your vehicle's worth. If you don't, the days of saying to people that, well, I'm not going to give you a value in your vehicle if you're not interested in buying one of mine, I mean, you're gone. You lost the customer. And even if you give them a value, they're still gone because you take the customer off. I think that at the end of the day, I think that you have to be secure enough in your people and in your processes to give people that information, and then have the faith that those people will follow up with them and go from there. Because sometimes it's not even to us. I don't think it's as important as much as the value you give them. It's how it's done and how the customer's treated during the process.
Amen. Alex, let's kick it over to you, and then we'll wrap it up after that.
When the pandemic started, a little after, when it was safe to actually travel and around, I met with Jennifer Suzuki. She's a consultant in the industry, and we went over to Prestige Volvo in New Jersey. We went down there to visit Matthew Haken, and Jennifer is a hard, heavy, nail the phone, got to nail that script and get that customer in the door. Don't give them any information. She saw Matthew taking a lead. Matthew's the dealer principal, so he answered an internet lead himself and showed her how the process worked at his stores. And he got on the phone with the customer, and the customer said, well, I got this car and blah, 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 blah. And he gave her a number on the spot. She didn't have to ask for it. He was just, what's your trade? And boom. And Jennifer was like, you gave her a number? What if the engine's falling out or something? He said, karma. She'll have bad karma. But so that's, to your point, Bill. I mean, that's the transparency in the customer experience that is helping dealers thrive in their marketplace since the pandemic happened, and the ones that are being as transparent as Bill is, being as transparent as Matthew is. Matthew Hagen, you're of course transparent too now, but anyway, it's definitely the way to go. And what we strive to do at FRIKIntech is to automate things. So we're not causing the dealer, to have to do extra work. It's all automated. It's all happening. It's all coming to places you're already at. So you don't have to change processes, other than maybe take on some talk tracks that can help get the customer through the process.
Thank you, Alex. All right, so let's bring this thing on home here. So we saw this. So as we do on every live session we host, if you made it this far, if you want the TradePending mascot, you can see one back up there behind me. It's the drinking bird. We call it the wobbly bird. We will mail you one of these things for free.
I don't think I have one of those, man.
It's coming. It's coming. So hit that. It is case sensitive, and we will get you what you need. If you had a question you wanted to ask Alex or Bill, of myself, it looks like Bill, we got the wrong email down there for you, so we'll get that fixed when we send this out there. If you want to email John at Psychology, you can, but it's not going to go to Bill. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Alex, Bill, thank you for taking time out of your day. You guys are busy people, and we appreciate it, and we thank everybody for attending as well, and we'll see you next time.